Hello, everyone. It's Jim of Shiloh Kahal. The argument that Leviticus 23:32 advocates for an evening-to-evening construct of the Hebrew calendar day runs into a dilemma because of its discussion of the ninth day. If you read the passage where it reads from evening until evening, and you think that is asserting, or you embrace that is inserting that it is defining the construct of the day as beginning in the evening and running until the evening, then we create a problem when we say just prior to that, on the ninth day of the month at evening. We create a problem for the entire passage. Let me explain. Let's first review the construct of a day on an evening to evening basis. So here is the start of day 9. And if evening starts the day, here is the depiction of the start of the day over here at evening. And this particular, when I put an X right here at this, what would be the civil period of this twilight period, because that's what I'm illustrating here, is a period of time when the sun has gone down right here. The sun has gone down. It's below the horizon, and we start this twilight period of time. Well, most will say that the going down of the sun, the setting of the sun, is the initiation of the new day. So, if the sun goes down, and that is the beginning of day 9, it will run from the going down of the sun through the twilight period, through night, through the morning twilight period, through the rise of the sun, through the daylight periods, all the way to even once the sun touches the horizon, it will continue in day 9 until, until the sun goes down and begins day 10. So that would be the construct of the day. Here is the beginning of day 9 back here at evening, and it will run through the night, then through the day until evening of the 10th day. So everything before the sunset the following day belongs to day 9. Everything from sunset forward belongs to day 10. So going back to this passage here where it reads from evening to evening, this is illustrated here as from evening on day 9 to evening on day 10. Now we could illustrate it again, and I will very quickly. This would be the evening on day 10, the very first part of the day in an evening to evening day, and then it would run through the twilight periods of after the sun has set into the night, through the twilight periods of morning into the day, all the way down until the sun sets again on day 11. So everything from the sunset over here on day 10 belongs to day 10 all the way through until the sunset again, till the sun drops below the horizon, at which time we start day 11. Everything prior to the sunset belongs to day 10. Everything subsequent to the sunset belongs to day 11. So when we then introduce on the ninth day of the month at evening, what are we saying? So we return to our illustration. So we know that the Day of Atonement is day 10. And in an evening to evening illustration, the day would start when the evening, when the sun sets here. Sorry, as the sun sets here, and we start day 10. So this is at evening of day 10, the very first thing that is happening at evening of day 10. But where is at evening of day 9? Well, at evening of day 9 takes us clear back to the very beginning of day 9. And this would be it here. So when the sun sets, that would be evening, at evening of day 9. It's the very first thing. And it would run again through all of the night and then all the daylight hours of day 9. Here's the middle of day 9. Here's the end of day 9. But everybody knows, if you are trying to also, in the context of the Sabbath, which is what this is talking about, if it says that our Sabbath is to begin on day 9 at evening, and we are to run it from evening to evening, and we start the Sabbath back here at the beginning of day 9, and until we reach it, then basically we've run the entire Sabbath before day 10 even begins. So really everybody needs that day 9 at evening to be here, because they need it to be at the end of day 9 and not at the beginning of day 9. But that that fails logic, because you can't really have it both ways, although many people are. You can't create two evenings. If the evening starts the day, if at evening starts the day, then uh, if evening starts the day, then it's the very first thing that happens on day 9. But you need it to be at the end of day 9. So then you begin calling the end of the day also evening. We've created two evenings. It's a dilemma. As I've approached people about this dilemma, and most people just don't, they don't deal with it at all. They just simply don't address it. It's almost like it's lost on them. I've only had a few people try to address it, but I struggle with how it gets addressed, because I don't see how it can coexist. Let me explain the two options that I have heard here. So I've had one person describe it this way: Ba'arib, which is at evening, is the end point of the day. Now, it's interesting, because isn't evening the beginning of the day? He will assert it as so in just a moment. It reads like this: Ba'arib is the end point of the day. It is the point when the sun's disk touches the ground, ending the ninth day. So if this is an illustration of a sunset, which is what this is, he is saying that the moment that the sun's disk has touched the horizon, we are ending day 9. And he goes on to say, now the end of the ninth day is also the beginning of the 10th day. So this same moment in time, he's saying both is the end of day 9 and is the beginning of day 10. Okay, but then that would make the same thing true the day prior, because this would represent the end of day 9 and the beginning of, the end of day 8 and also the beginning of day 9. So even in the illustration, or even in the argument that is being presented here, we still have two evenings, because even if he's saying this is the end of day 8, it would be the beginning of day 9. So we've got our first evening taking place right here at the beginning of day 9. Now, if he is also taking this forward to being the end of day 9, well, now you've got an evening at the end of day 9 too, because it's also, and then he's also saying it's also the beginning of day 10. So this would be the first part of day 10, which would also make a day later, this being the first part of day 11. So are you also going to make this the end of day 10 also? By doing this, you're putting two evenings in every day. Let me illustrate it on the timeline here very quickly. So he's basically saying that here is the end of day 9 and the start of day 10. So he is saying that when the sun's disk touches the horizon, it is the end of day 9 and also the start of day 10. But if it's the start of day 10, wasn't it also the start of day 9 over here? So we have this one, and then we have this one as, we have the first evening of day 9, then we have the second evening of day 9. We're only doing this because necessity's pushing us to. In Occam's razor, we are adding plurality with the idea that we need necessity, that necessity is driving us to do something like this. Now, most will say that, and I'll just quickly do it, most will say that a sunset is the more appropriate evening, but you got the same problem. You're going to have this first sunset over here. No matter what, if you're going to take the evening to be the end of day 9, if you're going to say at evening of day 9, and you're going to try to make it the end of the day, you have a problem, because you needed the evening of day 9 also to begin day 9. So you've got two evenings in every day, and I think that's a problem. I find that to be a dilemma, and it's certainly not Occam's razor. Now let me tell you what another explanation was that I had received. There's a Gregorian. We are all operating on the Gregorian calendar, or some will call it the world's calendar, which is true. We're all working from it. And in the world's calendar, the day doesn't start at either sunrise or sunset. It starts in the middle of the night at 12:01 a.m. If you introduce the Gregorian calendar or the world's calendar into the discussion of the Hebrew calendar and the instructions of Leviticus 32, you have a potential explanation here. Let me explain. Here is day 9. Now, on the Hebrew calendar, the start in an evening to evening illustration, this day 9 would have started back here in the sunset. And then we would have had on the Hebrew calendar, but this would still be day 8 on the Gregorian calendar, because we really don't start day 9 on the Gregorian calendar until we reach midnight here. So this would be day 8. We would be starting on day 9, the Gregorian calendar. Day 9 on the Gregorian calendar here at midnight. And it would run through the midnight hours, through the rest of the night, through the morning hours, through the sunrise, through midday, through all the daylight period. And it would actually continue to run past evening until we reach midnight again. So, if you are going to conflate the world's calendar or the Gregorian calendar with the Hebrew calendar, then I suppose you could make an argument here, because here we've started day 9 and we're running it to midnight. And on the Hebrew calendar, we would have started day 9 here on the Hebrew calendar when the sun set. So literally, while this on the Hebrew calendar would have started day 10, on the Gregorian calendar, we're still in day 9. And you could make a case that then when you say on day 9 at evening, you're still in day 9 on the Gregorian calendar. But I struggle with that because, again, dealing with the Occam's razor, we've introduced multiplicity. We've introduced pluralities. We've introduced a whole new calendar that I don't know how it could even fit in the context of what Moses was showing us according to the Hebrew calendar, clear back in the days of Moses. So I don't really think that's a viable option either, although, we've got people that are presenting that. So let me show you what changing to sunrise changing from sunset to sunrise for the start of the Hebrew calendar day simply solves the problem. It solves the dilemma. So here's an illustration of day 9 and 10 when we're using a morning, which is a sunrise start of the day. So we would have started day 9 not with evening, but with the sunrise. The sun comes up, breaks the horizon, and we have a new day. And the first part of day 9 is the daylight periods. But here, in the middle of day 9, we experience our first at evening, when the sun goes down and the twilight period begins. And then we continue in day 9 through this evening period, through dusk, and then through night, all the way to the dawning, the sunrise of the next day. So where would at evening of day 9 be? Be right here. And it's in the middle of the day, and it solves it. So even though we have day 10, which is the Day of Atonement, when it says at even, on day 9, at even, we belong here, and we run our Sabbath through this period of time, all the way through to the evening of day 10 here. And it solves the dilemma. I don't have to have plurality of anything. Now, admittedly, if we are to take this instruction to begin our Sabbath, we shall keep our Sabbath from the 9th day of the month at evening, and keep it from evening to evening. And if that's the period of time we are keeping our Sabbath, then admittedly we are starting our Sabbath here on the 9th day and running it through the daylight hours of day 10, but ending it in the evening of day 10, which would be in the middle of day 10. And I see no explicit instruction in Leviticus about ending day 10, ending the Sabbath halfway through day 10. I mean, it doesn't specifically say halfway through day 10, although it's implicit, if I'm correct, and if it's a we've got a sunrise to sunrise day, then it would be implicit that we are ending the Sabbath in the middle of the 10th day, which would be in the middle of the Day of Atonement, even though the second half of the day we probably wouldn't be working anyway, certainly not in an agrarian farming society. So, it is speaking. We do have to, some of it is explicit, but some of it we do have to imply that we are going to have the second half of day 10. All of day 10 is the Day of Atonement, and we are to keep a Sabbath rest on the Day of Atonement, which immediately we infer would mean the entire day 10. But then when we get to the instructions that on day 9 at evening, and then from evening to evening, and we get those explicit instructions that end the Sabbath in the middle of day 10 or in the middle of the Day of Atonement. Okay, there is some inference there, but I think it's preferable to having to completely, we just can't overcome the day 9 dilemma if we go evening to evening. All right, well, thank you, and may you be Baruch. If you think I'm correct in what I'm sharing, then please like and share so that others can hear as well.